Hey babes, it's Jenni here from chronicbabe.com, and you're with me for another AWAP Wednesday. If you haven't been with us before, AWAP stands for as well as possible. And in all things, that's what I wish for you, that you kick ass and take names no matter how sick you are. And I know that you can. Today's AWAP Wednesday question comes from a fellow Chronic Babe, and she asks, how do I talk with my partner and ask him to initiate the lovin' and everything in between when his attitude is, don't touch the fragile flower lest I hurt her? I'm so tired of it feeling so one-sided, and it makes me feel like he's not into me. Great question. I've totally been there. I'm sure I'll totally be there again. Because I go through phases where I just don't want to be touched, and then I go through phases where I really want to be touched, and it's confusing for my partner. So we're going to talk about it. This requires, in my experience, kind of a gentle conversation beforehand. In this conversation, I might say something like, hey, I really want to make love to you right now, but I'm having like some gastrointestinal stuff, so like no penetration, okay? Thanks. Or I might say something like, I really want to be close with you right now, but I don't think we should focus on orgasm today because I took some meds that are probably going to impede that and it'll just make us crazy. So can we just be close together? Just focus on like hanging out and touching and kissing and chilling out together? Or I might say something like, you know, I really am excited to hop into bed with you right now, but my skin is very, very sensitive today. So could you please shave? Because I think that your stubble could irritate my skin, and let's avoid that. When you couch these requests and explanations in the framework of, I love you, I want to be intimate with you, we both have this shared goal, it makes it a lot easier for your partner to hear it and understand you and to usually comply with your requests, because I'm sure your requests are pretty reasonable. Timing is also an issue. You might feel like you don't want to break the mood because you've been like making out and you're starting to take your clothes off and you don't want to pause to explain your limitations. Sorry, you got to break the mood for a second and do it. I know it feels awkward, but what's more awkward, doing that or going even farther down that path and being in the bedroom and getting busy and then suddenly you got to stop because something has gone wrong? That will really break the mood. So don't be shy. Talk about your needs up front as soon as you can. Consider this your chance to start an ongoing conversation with your partner. Not a once a week conversation, not a once a month conversation, an ongoing, continual conversation in which you enlighten him or her on the various things that feel good or don't feel good for you, and that you hear from them what makes them feel good or what doesn't work for them. It's it's got to be a mutual experience. I encourage you to have small conversations at the times that are most relaxing for you. So not late at night when you're both exhausted from work and you're stressed about money or whatever. I'm talking about midday Sunday afternoon, everybody's chill and you're like, hey, can we just talk for a minute about some sex stuff? I feel kind of awkward, but I'd love to like get it off my chest and have an easygoing, small conversation, get that process going. What you want to do is create a general atmosphere of acceptance and kindness and listening to one another and non-judgment. Ask your partner what his or her concerns might be. Give them a chance to elaborate and talk about experiences that have shaped their perceptions or their attitudes or their approach. When you give them a chance to talk about their perspective, you're really opening the door to an atmosphere of openness and generosity and acceptance and non-judgment. And this is where we want to be in these conversations. If you can, try to avoid saying things that might make your partner feel critiqued. It's not that I don't want you to speak your mind, it's just about how we phrase things. So instead of saying something like, when you touched me this way, it really hurt, because that can really make your partner feel a little bit attacked. Remember, he or she is feeling vulnerable too. You're both in a state of vulnerability. So If you can phrase things more like, when you touch me this way, it feels really good versus this other way. Or I'd like to focus on this technique rather than this one. If you need to come out and say, this thing that we do, it hurts, doesn't work for me, that's okay. I would just try to emphasize that we're not blaming here. When we get into a finger pointing kind of vibe, that's when people can feel attacked. They put up walls of resistance, and we want to avoid that in these conversations. Remember, this is about creating emotional intimacy and more opportunities for connection so that you get more and more comfortable with each other and these conversations get less and less awkward. Remember, it's your responsibility to tell your partner what you need and what you want and what works for you and what doesn't. Your partner is not required to have a crystal ball. Your partner is not required to read the signs and signals that you give off all the time that should explain to them what they can or can't do. When we expect people to read our mind, it's not going to work. So while it may feel awkward at first, you need to start speaking up about what works for you and what doesn't. It's not a personal failing if your partner can't figure it out on their own. We are human beings and we're super complicated. So the easier we can make it for each other, the more we can explain what we need, the easier things are going to go. Remember again that this is an ongoing conversation. So when I talk about conversation, what I mean is not just one, but a series of ongoing conversations, day to day, week to week, whatever is appropriate. And also over the long term, your needs are going to change, as will your partners. So you might go for, say, a whole year where penetrative sex is not okay for you. It's too painful, or you're too dry, or it's too uncomfortable. And then you might change your meds or get some pelvic floor physical therapy or something, and it changes and suddenly penetrative sex is back on the table. Well, you want to be really clear with your partner about that. Your partner wants to know. Mistakes will be made. No matter how much we talk with our partners about what we need and want and what they need and want, somebody's gonna make a mistake. Somebody's gonna do something that makes you ouchy. Somebody's gonna stick a finger somewhere it's not supposed to go. Mistakes will be made. And if we can approach this with a certain level of humility and humor and forgiveness and an understanding that we're all here to learn and we're all like in a constantly changing, evolving state, I think that things will go much smoother. I mean, I'm sure that you're not perfect at all the sexing either, right? Finally, you may need to find a sex-positive couples therapist. If your partner is doing the same thing over and over again that's hurting you and you're being clear with him or her and they're not listening, that's a problem. So you need to go see a therapist. And there are lots of sex-positive counselors and therapists out there. The American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, or AASECT, they are at aasect.org. They can set you up, they can make referrals, they can teach you how to find someone. Even if you're not in the US, they have great resources about how to find a counselor. So if you've tried everything, if you've had a lot of conversations, or if you're just like hitting a wall where one of you or either of you is just really struggling to vocalize your needs, it's time to go see a therapist. There's no shame in it. It's a wonderful gift you can give each other if it gets you to that point where you're more comfortable and you have more intimacy. Keep that dialogue open and honest and clear, with humility and acceptance and non-judgment. And I think that you can work with your partners to create beautiful sex lives in spite of chronic illness. And I think you'll have a lot more fun. That's what I got for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you can't get enough of AWAP Wednesday, head over to our YouTube channel or head over to the blog on chronicbabe.com. There are a ton of videos for you to watch, almost 60 videos now. If you want to add your comment to this video, and I would love to hear your comments, hop in the blog comments below over at chronicbabe.com and tell us your story. If there's a question I can answer for you, hop over to the website, jump into the contact form, and send me your question. I love to answer questions, so send them my way. if you want to stay up to speed on everything Chronic Babe, including all these videos and other blog posts, free releases, my book that's coming out in a couple months, sign up for our newsletter today. Don't miss out. You get all kinds of freebies when you sign up and you will never miss a thing. Okay, go out there, have some great sex, and be AWAP. Mwah. Beep. So the best thing you can do, that's a gift for you right there.